Good morning, fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for February 24th, 2025. Well, I hope everyone had a great weekend, ready for another wild week of the market. Quite a little bit of volatility raised its head over the last couple of trading days, and it looks like we're in for another day of volatility as we kick off the morning, trying to bounce back up sharply. Couple of changes, guys, that I want to remind everyone of. I will be traveling at the end of this week for my brother's celebration of life services. And there will not be a morning market prep video on Friday and the following Monday, but I should be right back here in the saddle Tuesday of next week, and we'll try to pick back up right where we left off. So let's take a look at what happened overnight here in the markets. If we take a look at Asian markets, they were mixed but mostly lower overnight. Shanghai down 0.18%. Hong Kong was down 0.58%. India down 1.06%. We saw South Korea down. We've got the Nikkei that went higher by 0.26%, and Australia moved up by 0.14%. If we take a look at Europe, Europe has got a little bit of mix here this morning, but mostly to the green side, and pretty decidedly in the DAX. The DAX is up 218 points, or 0.98%. FTSE this morning is up modestly at 0.13%, and the CAC is down modestly 0.09%. If we take a look at U.S. futures, boy, we've got a whopper started here this morning with a big gap up expected in the Dow. Right now, Dow futures up 327 points. We've got S&P 500 futures looking to pop 31.25 points, and the NASDAQ futures are up substantially as well right now at 91 points. So quite bullish here in the pre-market as we bounce back from 2 days of pretty hard selling. If we take a look at oil futures here this morning, well, we've got oil. This is oil producers. You can see in the pre-market trying to push up just a tiny little bit. And we've got oil this morning up, let's see, 17 cents a barrel at 70.57 a barrel. Brent this morning is up 18 cents at 74.61 a barrel. If we take a look at natural gas is getting a pretty sharp move lower here this morning. Been really extended here for a period of time, getting gapping down, and we're now down about 26 cents here on natural gas. If we take a look at crypto markets here this morning, well, cryptos seem to be having just a little tiny bit of struggle. We've got Bitcoin that is trying to get into the green here. Right now up $63 a coin, and pretty much everything else is red in those crypto markets, with Ether down over 4%. Down $114 a coin. So quite the activity here in those crypto markets. If we take a look at bonds this morning, well, our bonds kind of a mix there as well, moving up just slightly. If we were to take a look at 2-year bonds right now, the 2 years at 4.22%. The 10s are at 4.44%, and the 30s at 4.69%. So we'll have to be keeping an eye on that today as we continue to see interesting market whipsaws here. We've got our dollar trying to hammer here today, pushing just a little bit higher here in the chart after pretty substantial sell-off in the dollar. Right now, U.S. dollar futures are up only about a penny. So trying to reverse intraday here. Let's also take a look at our precious metals here this morning. Gold trying to work a little bit higher here this morning. We've got gold up $7.90 an ounce at $2,961 an ounce. And we've got silver moving lower here today, down 16 cents at $32.85 an ounce, just kind of in a resting pattern here on silver. So keep an eye on that. Copper moving just a little bit lower this morning. Platinum is down, and palladium is also moving lower pretty substantially this morning, down at $25.90 an ounce. So keep an eye on that. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Monday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here today. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at, let's take a look at these markets and see if we can figure out how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, we want to look at these markets without a bias. We want to look at the chart carefully for both the positive, the negative, and maybe even a sideways move, and figure out what is the best way for each of us individually to approach the market day. Well, first off, if we take a look at the diamonds, obviously pretty strong sell-off here. I continued to say that our market breadth was setting us up for a very big move. I had no idea that we would fall so hard, or that we would have accompanying economic numbers pushing us lower here as we did. But as you can see, pretty strong moves to the downside. We broke down out of this wedging pattern here in the chart. We sliced right down through the 50-day moving average. This morning we're bouncing up to see if we can test that 50-day moving average or regain it. Watch that carefully here today. So if the bulls can continue to find inspiration while maybe breaking back above that 50-day moving average, we can see if we can cross back above Friday's high in here. Watch that carefully, and if we can do that, then we might push back up into this area of resistance in the chart. If the bears, however, happen to find inspiration on the day and we get some kind of a failure here under the 50-day moving average, I would look for a little bit of fear to pick up in that circumstance. So breaking back down below this morning's low could really send us on lower to retest the Friday low. It's very, very common in a sell-off like this. You retest the lows. If that were to break, however, well, as we start moving down here in this market, there are some big moves possible because we've left so many big gaps behind on the rally up. So watch that carefully. We might start pushing down into areas like this, stretching on lower here in the chart. Now, if you take a look at breaking the 50, any rally back up into that 50 or these resistance areas could actually serve as a failure in there on the 50-day moving average, where we start reaching back down toward that 200-day. So just be really thoughtful about the trades that you take, and consider the wild volatility that we're experiencing right now is going to make it very challenging for any traders out there to successfully navigate this wild volatility. So be very careful. If we take a look at our SPY, solid breakdown here on Friday, moving sharply lower. I never expected we would have moved quite so far on Friday, breaking through support, breaking the upside trend, breaking this trend break here, and now we're trying to gap back up. So if those bulls can continue to find inspiration to the upside today, watch this area of price resistance in here and this upside trend. Let's see if that'll be tested as resistance and can push through. If we can push through that, then I'm going to suggest we start progressing back up, see whether or not we can test the underneath side of that resistance here in the SPY. Now, if the bears have anything to say today, well, a retest of this low here, not out of the question, and certainly a possibility. So watch that carefully if we were to reverse and retest. Where it probably gets pretty ugly here in the SPY is if this substantial area of price support through here were to give up to the downside. If that were to break to the downside, I would really look for some fear to come up. So watch that carefully here in the chart if that were to occur. Now, taking a look at our moving averages, the good news here in the SPY, we stopped right there on the 50-day moving average, so we're trying to hold that in the SPY. As we push back up, again, watch those resistance levels, because if we were to break back down below that 50, I think that's where some real fear might start coming up, and we might start thinking correction. If we take a look at QQQ also substantial selling here on Friday, pulling back, pushing us down into this area of price support. And once again, you can see we finished the day just above that 50-day moving average. Now, that's okay that we do that. It would be pretty normal for us to retest that 50-day. But if those bulls can find some inspiration here in the market, then what we're wanting to look for here is we're going to see if we can push back up, retest this trend break here and this fairly strong area of price resistance in the chart. If we can break back through that, then I think we have that opportunity. We can push back up here toward these highs. If, however, those bears were to find any kind of inspiration today, pushing this lower, you can see I would be watching Friday's low to potentially hold. If that fails, then I would look for a test of that 50-day moving average in the chart. And then beyond that, well, you can see we've got some big potential moves possible for those next areas of price support. A lot of volatility in this market, so plan carefully. If we take a look at the Russell IWM, well, pretty nasty failure here on the Russell on Friday, breaking on down. We have been battling this 50-day moving average for a long time, struggling against it, trying to break through, unable to do it, and now just a real quick trip right down to the 200-day. You guys heard me say if we fail the 50 up here again, I would suspect the 50-day moving average could be tested. Never expected that 50-day would be tested in a single day. So with this bounce back up here today, and let's watch some of these resistance areas here in price action, push back up into here, and I would look for some resistance right in there. Breaking back above that level, then of course we'll start looking at some of these resistance levels on it, back up toward this downtrend. If the bears, however, have something to say, and we push down, breaking Friday's low, a retest of low, Friday's low would probably not be a problem if we use it to bounce. But if we were to break down below Friday's low, then I think, again, we're going to have some worry picking up in here, because that would constitute a failure of the 200-day, and some fear might come in, and we might move pretty quickly down to this next area of price support, which is a substantial area of price support, but also a pretty painful move. Let's take a look at our VIX. Our VIX on Friday shot up here pretty substantially, big strong move in the VIX all at once, breaking this little downtrend that we had going in the chart, holding this area of price support, pushing right up here to almost 19 handles in that move before we backed off just a little bit, settling in just above 18 handles. So if those bulls have inspiration here today to push, then bringing this back down. Let's see if we can test these areas of price support in the chart. And down in here, down below there, of course, would be a big whipsaw all the way back up. So watch that carefully. If the bears, however, have anything more here to say, what I would be watching is this area right here of price resistance, and then seeing if we can come up here to this last recent high in the VIX. That would probably be failures of the 50-day moving average and 200-day moving average for the IWM. So watch that carefully. Let's take a look at our T20s. Now our T2122 was showing us that opportunity that we had a very big move potential in the market. What's interesting is even with that big move, just kind of showing you how overbought we have been here in the market, with such a big 2-day move to the downside, notice we still have further to go. So if those bears were to find some inspiration here today, or even whipsaws here today, watch for that possibility, because may not be finished with that downside move. However, if the bulls, like they're doing this morning, can continue to find good inspiration in the market, then I would expect we've got a big upside opportunity for them to move. So watch that carefully here in the market. If we look at our T2108, well, our T2108 percentage of stocks above the 40-day moving average obviously slipped a little bit. We ticked down just through a little bit of price support here. We've only got 38.5% of our stocks holding above the 40-day moving average. If the bulls find inspiration today and push up like we are right at the moment, let's see if we can test some of these areas of price resistance up here, see if we can get back up there toward that 50%. Of course, if the bears were to find any inspiration here today and break down below here, our next areas of price support down in here move us quite a bit lower here in that scale. So watch that carefully here if those bears do get going. And T2107, kind of the same. T2107 gave up an awful lot here on Friday, pushing sharply lower, 42% of the stocks holding above their 200-day moving average, and you can see breaking these areas of price support in the chart are a bit of a worry. If we can get those bulls here really responding back to the upside as we're seeing in the pre-market today, then watch some of these areas up here for resistance as we push back up, keeping in mind that we're going to need some market breadth to help us out a lot here, and that's something we have been lacking. Now, that market breadth turned up here on Friday, and unfortunately that was on the bearish wave. The bears may be getting a little bit bolder here, so watch out, guys. If in this big reversal back up here this morning, watch for whipsaws, because what we've seen here lately is the bulls just don't have any breadth following through on the upside move, and we finally saw a little bit of bearish breadth coming into play on Friday. So as we bounce up, don't rule out the possibility of a substantial whipsaw or retest of those lows, which is fairly common. May not be today, sometime this week, that we may retest those lows. So be really, really careful here on these big whipsaws. We'll want to watch that closely. Apologize for my voice here. Just a little bit of crackling here this morning. Hopefully it's not too annoying. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. Our economic calendar, we've got a few things that we'll want to be paying attention to here today. First off, we've got a Chicago National Fed activity report here this morning. We've got the Dallas Fed manufacturing survey that will be coming out. Some bond auctions here, a 3, a 6, and a 2-year note auction. So watch those closely, 3-month and 6-month and 2-year note auctions. As we look at the rest of the week, well, it really starts picking up toward the end of the week of some market moving reports. But we've got a lot of Fed speak in here. We're going to get Case-Shiller on Tuesday, FHFA house price numbers. We've got consumer confidence, a Richmond Fed manufacturing, some bond auctions. Wednesday, we're looking at mortgage applications as normal, but our new home sales, petroleum status in here, and of course bond auctions and Fed speak. Thursday is where it really picks up here. We're going to get the durable goods report along with a GDP number. We're going to get jobless claims. We're going to get pending home sales and natural gas report. Some Fed speak and bond auctions as normal. And then on Friday, international trading goods, and then we're going to get that personal incomes and outlays, that core PCE number in here. Definitely a market moving number. Retail inventories, wholesale inventory, Chicago PMI, Baker Hughes rig count, and then of course Goolsby in there speaking at the end of the day. So a lot going on here. It really picks up as we move through the end of the week. We'll have to watch those numbers because we seem to be pretty sensitive to those numbers here at the moment. Let's take a look at our earnings calendar here today. And our earnings calendar, well, it's not a major heavy one here today. We start off the day just a little bit on the light side here. Here is guys can pause the video, take a quick screenshot of that, of the notable reports for today. You can see this morning is relatively light. Let's look at a few of those here for this morning. We've got BCRX here this morning. Keep an eye on that one. Little pop and drop going on there. CWEN reporting today. Domino's will be in there. Looks like that's looking a little bit lower. FDP looks like that's got a little pop and drop going on here this morning as well. KBR reporting. We've got OC and we've got WLK on those notables. For this afternoon, we're going to hear from stocks like ADUS. We've got CIVI, CLF in there on the steel side. Keep an eye on that. FANG will be reporting. We've got OKE coming in here. PSA will be reporting. Trex will be in there. VVX and Zoom Mobile, some of those notables here for this afternoon. So keep an eye on that. Quite a few reports coming up in after the bell today. Let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me this quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube and also click that bell icon when it pops up, so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you can do me that favor, click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to continue to grow. Thank you so much for everyone who does take the time to do that. I truly appreciate it. I do try to answer as many of those comments as possible. So thank you everyone for the kind support, and thank you for sharing these videos on your social media feed, and also for the kindness that everyone shows by supporting the channel through the Buy Me a Coffee link just below the title of the video. Let's take a look at a few of these stocks that could be setting up. Remember, everyone, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence and be very, very careful in this market. Remember, these whipsaws can be pretty extreme in these moves. And if we are rolling over into maybe a corrective pattern, we could see these big point moves happen for a significant period of time. So looking at some of these stocks here today that could be setting up, just remember they could move a lot even before the market opens on the day. So first off, let's take a look at a few in here. I had placed alert here on LAZR, and you can see the remarkable speed at which things can change here in the market. And that's one of the reasons why I use price alerts. I want the trade to come to me. I don't want to predict anything. I want the trade to come to me, and you can see because I use price alerts, I'm not in that trade. And Friday didn't hurt me at all, and that's something I want everyone to notice in my charts. Is I'm not trying to predict an entry. I'm literally working to wait for those trades to come and fulfill my expectations in the chart, and if they don't, no big worry. So when we're volatile like this, I would suggest everyone think along those lines and be really careful about making those big predictions and jumping into trades. Well, let's take a look at a few things that are working quite well, and it's more of the defensive sector area of the market. Take a look in here at Mickey D's this morning. Mickey D's, big whipsaw here in the pre-market this morning, but I still think Mickey D's is setting up nicely. We're in kind of that defensive, that cyclical, that consumer staple type area of the market, showing some strength where the rest of the market is showing some uncertainty. So watch that carefully here. Mickey D is looking pretty good overall in the charts. If we take a look at utilities continue to squeeze up, and if we continue to see the dollar or bond yields fall, I would expect utilities to celebrate that because they're very sensitive to those rates. So watch that carefully here. So we're pushing up to press resistance here in the chart. Take a look at things like Altria. Now I have a little bias here. I bought some Altria. So just want everyone to know that, but this is something that I talked about at the end of last week to keep an eye on this, and popping through that resistance here in the chart, pushing up. Any rest or pullback, I think, sets up another opportunity in Altria, but we are seeing some rotation here into these old, boring, dividend-paying stocks. Take a look at Philip Morris, also showing quite a bit of strength to the upside. Take a look at Hershey. Hershey suddenly just getting a big push in here through to the upside. Any rest or pullback now sets up an opportunity. I'd love to see that hold above this area of price support, rest for a while, and then set up that next opportunity to the upside in Hershey. We're even seeing things like they don't get much older and more boring than Clorox, but really big push here coming into Clorox, pushing to the upside. I wouldn't want to chase into this at all. I think it's coming into a major area of price resistance. This is just a display that there is a rotation going on here in the market and a little bit of safety coming into the market, and we're seeing quite that move in here of old, boring, defensive sector companies like Mondelez breaking this downtrend, really stretching up here to the upside. Again, don't chase this. A little rest or pullback, however, could easily set a nice opportunity up in that chart. As you guys remember, I was mentioning Dollar General. Dollar General, while the rest of the market was selling, well, a little bit of that defensive discounting type company did pretty well, pushing on through here. You can see breaking through its 50-day moving average. Again, don't chase this, but a little rest or pullback in here that holds that 50-day moving average. What we want to see is that 50-day moving average is still going down, starting to rotate and turn back over. And as price rests in here, then look for that next opportunity to the upside here in Dollar General. Dollar Tree would be another I would pay attention to. While the rest of the market was selling pretty hard on Friday, we had a nice little push here in a Dollar Tree. Might break this resistance here soon and start pushing up toward that 200-day moving average if we continue to see this uncertainty overall in the market. You'll want to look at things like Constellation brands, Kroger having a great little setup in here on the day. So some of those old borings looking just pretty darn good. So watch those closely. Let's take a look at some other things in here. RKT, Rocket Companies. This is an interesting pattern trying to come up here. Nice little consolidation, holding above that 50-day moving average in that rounded bottom breakout pattern. I think has potential to maybe move to the upside here. But when we look at a lot of these financial companies, if we take a look at XLF, we now are starting to see just a tiny little bit of concern on the big banks here, breaking down a little bit below some support. So watch that carefully. And if we look at the regionals, well, they're making a bit of a decision here, moving into this downtrend, possibly breaking some support here. We'll see how the bounce back up goes today, but I'd be a little bit worried about some of those here in the market. Take a look at MDT, Medtronic here. Medtronic had a really good day on Friday, pushing up, kind of closing this big gap down here in Medtronic, but any rest or pullback could set up an opportunity here after that big push up. Any rest or pullback in here that holds a higher low could set up Medtronic. It's one of those kind of left behind AI stocks out there that you might want to be paying attention to here in the market. Keep a close eye on some of the inverse ETFs. Take a look at RWM on the Russell here. Big shot reversal here in that, starting to show just a little bit of bullishness here. You can see in that rounded bottom breakout, almost completing it in one day. Any rest or pullback might set up an opportunity as well. So keep an eye on some of those inverse in here that are starting to show some signs of reversal. Keep those in mind and just be watching in case we do have that pain here in the market. And last but not least, I'm going to mention Starbucks, another defensive sector stock. Nice little resting pattern in here. Tried to pop in here on Friday, pulled back, but as we slide out here toward this trend, I would still watch for that opportunity of Starbucks coming around. Good, strong dividend payer in there, looking good overall. So with that, everyone, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. Thanks so much for being here and listening this morning. I truly appreciate it. Thanks so much for the kind support. I wish you all the very best, and I will see you right back here bright and early Tuesday morning. Take care, everyone.